Well, so far our Champions League defence here this season at Benfica has been a little bit easy. We'll see today if that continues. Two teams that have beaten us last couple of times that we've taken them on: Atletico Madrid, who beat us in the league phase last season, and the team who bumped us 5-2 in the UEFA Super Cup earlier this year in Manchester United. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 103 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Benfica. I hope you're doing well and come up day. We've got two big clashes in the Champions League, the last couple before we head in to the transfer window break. First up, we host Atletico Madrid, a team who beat us last season and are sitting in fourth on that Champions League table, so a big clash here first up. And then we take on the defending Europa League champions who beat us 5-2 earlier this season in the Super Cup in Manchester United as well. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that, but it comes off the back of yesterday's episode. Picked up a pretty good win over Aston Villa. You Calamari won't be too pleased with that move, and also we then bet Sporting 3-0 in Liga Portugal too. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, we've played one game in the Champions League, one in the Cup here in Portugal, and one in the league as well. So it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. First up, we took on Red Bull Salzburg. This definitely looked the easiest of our fixtures this season, and thankfully it did prove true. We picked up a 5-0 win, did end up putting a quite strong team out for this game, and as you can see, it paid off on Reek there with a double and also goals to Nardi, Hudland and to Piskanov, and we thumped Red Bull Salzburg. So it does mean that going into these games in today's episode, we do sit in a good spot in that competition. Also continued our perfect record in Liga Portugal with a 2-0 win away there at Boa Vista. The goals there to Calavatoglu and Piskanov. To be fair though, took until half-time for us to pick up that first goal, and then we made our way through the fourth round of the Taça de Portugal, the Portuguese Cup, with a 3-0 win over Vizela, which probably is our most impressive win off the back of yesterday's episode, because we did put out a bit of a rotation for that game for this Champions League one coming up against Atletico Madrid and Vizela. Not a bad team at all, sitting in fourth in the Portuguese league. They were going quite well up until that 3-0 win. Our rotation did pick up over them, so it does mean we've made our way through to the next round of that Taça de Portugal. We're going to take on a team who I believe are down all the way in the 4-4-5 tier, so definitely should be getting through to the next round of that cup there in January. And also, we do now find ourselves in a good spot in Liga Portugal, 1 point clear of Braga with a game in hand. So also looking good here domestically at Benfica this season. Of course, already made our way through to the quarterfinals of the League Cup, just waiting to see who actually tops their group and the other ones in that competition. And Champions League wise, we sit on top, join on points with Bayern and Chelsea, and going back a little bit further, you've got the likes of Atletico Madrid. So if we can win this one here, we'll get ourselves potentially on the verge of qualifying for the knockouts quite early here with this Benfica team. So hopefully can get some revenge here on Atletico Madrid, because of course last season they were the only team to actually beat us in this league stage of the competition. Diego Simeone is still there in 2033 with his filthy 5-3-2, which is super defensive as per usual, but of late their form, it has been really good. Their last game in the Champions League, they thrashed the team 7-0, and around that, they've picked up some narrow wins in La Liga. Good old Simeone, and some no doubt quite feisty narrow wins there in La Liga. But unfortunately, in those last couple of games that we have played, our defensive stocks have been dealt to here at Benfica. First off, Magalhães has picked up a hip injury. He's out for 2 to 3 months. He's gone for a fair while as our fourth choice centre back. We've called someone up from our under-19s who was on the next gen list last year, so hopefully he'll do decently if we need to call on him. And Fabio Araujo, you can see his current ability is not too hot potential. Honestly, not too sure why he's on that next gen list, but apparently he deserved to be there, so we'll see what he can do here while Magalhães is out with that injury. The young 17-year-old going back further. Also missing at the moment, we've got Emmanuel Nardi with a calf strain. This one a little bit more recent. He's out for 3 to 5 weeks, so a little bit weak there as well at left back. And added to that, Grace Kabangu is out with a sports hernia, albeit he's not actually registered for the Champions League this season, so that one doesn't impact us too badly for today's episode. But a couple of quite handy defenders that we could use, in particular Emmanuel Nardi. So it does mean that currently Escudero is our backup left back, and that's the reason that Araujo has had to make his way into that team. Otherwise, Escudero could just cover that centre-back spot while Magalhães is out. But it does mean that for this game, Ronaldo comes in left back. Otherwise, it's our first choice 11s. Hopefully here can pick up a win, especially because both these games are at home. Our last two in January away, and they could be a little bit trickier than they look on paper. But also, Dortmund is definitely going to be quite tough these days, one of the better teams in the Bundesliga, despite the fact that Ryan Mason is their manager. And also, we've got Galatasaray away from home in Hull, so to be fair, things could get a bit tricky in those last couple of games of the Champions League. So quite hopeful here we can pick up some points in these next couple of home ones, our last ones before the knockouts, which we definitely should be taking part in, hopefully as one of those teams that go straight through to the round of 16, just like last year, obviously, as the defending champions. That would be quite nice. With a couple of wins here in today's episode, that would be quite good, especially getting some revenge on these two teams. I think last season, Atletico Madrid kind of number on us in the away game in the league phase, and of course Manchester United, they absolutely thumped us in that Super Cup at the start of the season, albeit some of our players either weren't here at that stage or were still quite new to how we do things with this Benfica team. So I'm quite hopeful we're a bit stronger now than we were in those couple of Super Cups we did play at the start of the season. In particular, that UEFA one, the one in Portugal where we took on Sporting, didn't play that badly, just got a little bit FM there in that game, but an early highlight Atletico Madrid there in the blue were on the attack, but Miguel comes out strongly and does claim that one, rolls out there to Nianzou on our right hand side, still doing a pretty good job ever since. We did switch him to that side of the field eventually, try and get something going here down this right hand side for Taron and Enrique, linking up quite nicely alongside now Castillejo and Diarra. Builders Renato, good 1-2 there between him and Califotoglu, who does get in behind, and that's a wonderful finish past a pretty good goalkeeper in between the sticks there for Atletico Madrid, someone who's right up there usually in terms of the goal 50 in the save. But some nice work here, Renato and Califotoglu. A 1-2 does allow the Califotoglu to get him behind for some reason. The right back there for Atletico Madrid does not stick with him, and he puts that one away just inside of that far post. We take a 1-0 lead with our first shot of the game, and now a throw in here deep inside of the final third for Taron Enrique. They'll again link up. Enrique starts to cut inside. Califotoglu with a wonderful finish, considering that he was going backwards at a rate of knots. That's a really good finish there from Califotoglu to get himself on a hat-trick inside 12 minutes. We've got a 2-0 lead here over Atletico Madrid. Maybe this season they're a bit of a fraud-watch team because we're bashing them early. That's a really good finish, as I said, with actually marked tight as well. Califotoglu, some excellent work there. So 2-0 up here off the back of our first two attacks of this game. Already looking like we should get 3 points from this one. Califotoglu on absolute fire is our Turkish left winger, no idea. Now he's not up there in the goal 50 for some reason. There's no Benfica players in the top 50 in the world, despite the fact we're the current European champions. But now a free kick here to Atletico Madrid, which thankfully we hit away in Forte actually. Get a good chance to get us going here on the counter attack. Good tackle there on Enrique, but we get it back here and eventually go forward to Castillejo, who gets a shot off, but unfortunately it's weak and straight at the goalkeeper with his left foot. But only a few minutes later again, going to try and do something here down our right hand side. It might be a little bit here of a weakness, these wings on that Atletico Madrid team, because so far having absolute fun out here down our sides in this game. And now a ball played in there, and Piskunov will put that one home. I'm pretty sure it's taken a deflection. Should not be any offsides given that, and this should be 3-0. So we're on absolute fire here against Atletico Madrid, albeit the players aren't celebrating. That one will get ruled out because Enrique is offside. Not too sure where Enrique is. That's a bit of an interesting call. It's definitely offside, but he's not interfering with the goalkeeper. He was well and truly occupied there by that cross that either got deflected by him or came off the post. So really, that should be 3-0. Feel a bit harsh about that one, but technically it is correct there. Enrique just should have stayed on side. We would have been fine. So it could be 3-0. It's 2-0, but to be fair, we're looking very good in the first half of this game. Renato, unfortunately, has picked up a yellow card, and with our left back situation on a little bit of a deep yellow heart, we'll definitely take him off here for Escudero at halftime. But apart from that, very happy with how the first half went. So let's hope here it continues in the second, even with a bit more of a defensive player in that wing back on attack role. Definitely do lose out a little bit there in terms of the likes of crossing with Escudero. His attribute for that is only 5 compared to about 14 or 15 with the likes of Nardi or of course with Renato. So that could be a concern going in to the second half. Big chance there to probably put that game to bed through Enrique, but unfortunately that one comes off the woodwork. We really should be 3 or 4-0 up now in this game, and an orange injury to Hudland isn't going that well today. We'll take him off here. That will be for Trincao, and also while we hear Piskunov going a little bit fairly, should have got a goal before halftime when Enrique was offside, so De Rosa can come on for him these days. He's actually in that form that Piskunov was right at the start of the season. Hasn't scored for a little while, so hopefully a chance here for De Rosa to find some goal-scoring touch. And now we're going to make here one of our last couple of subs. Enrique drops down to a red heart. Had been playing quite well up until the offside, which cost us a 3-0 lead, and then of course had that good chance which came off the woodwork to make it 3-0. But Soso can come on him at the moment. This has been pretty comfy for us here against a quite good Atletico Madrid team based on how well they're doing in the Champions League so far this season. But we are kind of toying with them with that final sub. We'll take off Fortea on a red heart for Peretti. They do have the ball here though, do Madrid, so we'll see what they do from this highlight. But Trincao there does some good work tracking back, and thankfully that pass just got enough sauce on it to find Matt Soso down our right-hand side. Now Fortea will float this, can't quite pick out Kalapatoglu on that hat-trick. Some nice short passing, and Matt Soso will take on the shot, but unfortunately that one gets blasted well over the bar. To be fair for Atletico Madrid, their shots overall in this game is quite similar to what we're putting out, exactly the same, but thankfully we've hit a lot more on target, and now a couple of players have picked up some injuries and dropping down to red hearts. So to play things safe here, we might just time waste a little bit with just under 10 minutes left to make sure Atletico Madrid don't find a way to sneak themselves back into this game, because really this is one that we should have put to bed a little bit earlier. And now with 5 minutes left, we'll play things completely safe, put both our wingbacks onto fullbacks, especially with Escudero. That probably suits him a little bit more, being a natural centre-back instead of a wingback. But obviously, as I mentioned earlier, with that Nardi injury, kind of having to do that this next little while here in this save. But thankfully, looks like we're going to get through the first game of this double in today's episode and get a little bit of revenge on Atletico Madrid for that one defeat we suffered in the league phase of the Champions League last season. That was relatively comfortable, really could have won that game by a bit more. A little bit unlucky there with the Enrique offside and also that shot of his that did hit the post, but really never in too much doubt off the back of that opening highlight where Atletico Madrid were briefly on the attack. Then we countered and picked up a goal through Kalapatoglu, who scored both for us in that game. We pick up a 2-0 win, and now should be right on the verge of qualifying for the knockouts already, and we definitely will if we can come back and beat Manchester United. And we are back for this Manchester United game, but before then a one league game which I thought would be relatively easy against, I think that is our affiliate club in Amadora, Sudden. Thankfully, we got quite lucky. As you can see there, sent off in the 35th minute there was Fabio Ronaldo, so it did mean we played most of this game without a shadow striker once we brought Escudero on, and even then we struggled to break these guys down until eventually there was a pretty fortunate own goal in our favour. We were going fully out of tick at this stage, since we hadn't scored by this point, and Escudero here makes his way inside the box. A few deflections, no idea there what their goalkeeper's doing there for the sad team, but they will be sad. They've kind of got FM there, albeit stats-wise, definitely deserve something from that game, and thankfully continue our perfect record thanks to that own goal there by Adama Kamasoko. So quite fortunate there with that red card and that own goal. It does mean that still we're 1 point clear of Braga with a game in hand, and these days got 2 in hand over the likes of Sporting and Porto for a further 5 points back. So as long as we make the most here of our games in hand, we're looking pretty good to romp our way to Liga Portugal yet again. And so far, to be fair, the Champions League has been going quite similarly. Look at the form here so far this season. Ever since the last time we took on Manchester United, we have not lost a single game and have conceded very few goals as well. I think it's just 4 there ever since that game in early August. So fingers crossed here can get some revenge on these guys in this Champions League game, especially yet again in front of our home fans, and off the back of a 3-0 defeat to Bournemouth. To be fair, their form of late has not been too great. Middlesbrough as well, they were held to a draw by, so all of a sudden Manchester United aren't going super well in this save. They only sit 6th in the Premier League behind the likes of Chelsea, who we did beat earlier this season, albeit that was quite fortunate with that Kone back pass, probably our closest game so far this season, alongside that one we did just have with the red card. Also, quick injury update. Thankfully, Escudero's orange injury from that previous game, not too serious, he's fine, but still out, of course, Magalhães and Emmanuel Nardi. So not too much has changed in terms of our first team going into this upcoming one. But Hudland did pick up an injury not too long ago, but thankfully he is fine to go here for this Manchester United game. So it does mean we can put out the exact same team as we did in that 2-0 win over Atletico Madrid, and fingers crossed here can back up and get some double revenge over this Manchester United team, who, as I said earlier, thumped us 5-2 in the UEFA Super Cup earlier this season. To be fair, these days, we haven't got the likes of you, Carl Mori, who I'm pretty sure may have still been at the club, might have actually just left in time for that UEFA Super Cup, but certainly a lot of our new signings going into our second season here at Benfica, a lot more natural with how we do things now compared to all the way back there in early August. So fingers crossed here can get some revenge on Man United, just like was the case there in that Super Cup, seeing as we've been drawn as the home team. Definitely this time in front of our home fans, we'll be in the red and Man United in the green and white stripes. So we'll see here how they get on. They thumped us earlier this season. Wasn't really that close. We threatened to come back in the second half, but just couldn't quite keep that comeback going. So hopefully here we go off to a good start and actually can pick up a win. If we do, we'll probably already qualify for the knockouts of the Champions League with how well we're going this season. We haven't lost a single game so far or even dropped a point. If that continues, probably those last couple of games away from home, they won't matter too much, and that would be quite nice. Galatasaray, even in hell, that's probably a team we should take something off. Borussia Dortmund, though, we might there slip up for the first time, especially obviously if we've got nothing to play for. But Man United here are on the ball in this first highlight of the game, which is a bit concerning because they're finding themselves in a fair bit of space here, just carving us apart a little bit too easily. Højlund up there to Mainu, and now they get him behind there through Cuckoo, but thankfully they put that one high and wide, and apparently onside too. Did think there he might have strayed off, but apparently not. But apart from that, stats-wise, actually looking pretty good in this game. Just haven't quite seen it for a highlight yet, albeit as I say that, we've got a throw in here inside the final third. A shot there, I think that was from Fabio Ronaldo. It comes off the woodwork, I think getting tipped onto that by the Manchester United goalkeepers. A good chance now for both teams. We went a little bit closer with our chance than they did, but still locked up here at 0-0 at the half-hour mark, which to be fair is usually when we do start to kick into gear here with this Benfica team. Let's see if that's going to be the case now. We've got a thrown inside of the final third, little bit here of aerial ping pong, which thankfully Højlund can win the ball from. United here are just struggling to clear their lines, but unfortunately they eventually play that one back there to Amadora. Now De Ligt there on the ball is a little bit slow, but is just keeping hold of it here for this Manchester United team. Plays it forward there to Kobe Mainu. De Ligt again is slow on the ball. Now Højlund can take it off him and takes on a shot from pretty much an identical angle to Calafia-Toglu in that Madrid game and puts it away. So that's a spot there our players love to finish from here in today's episode. But De Ligt here was looking a little bit slower on the ball a couple of times in this highlight. Eventually it proves costly. Højlund just robs him, does the former Crystal Palace man, and buries that one just inside that far post. Other Calafia-Toglu from that first game where he picked up a double. So that, a little bit of a gift there from Manchester United so far. The Premier League teams are a little bit weak in terms of their defence, just giving the ball away at some poor times, and thankfully that's helped us in a couple of games in the Champions League this season. Now hopefully here, if Calafia-Toglu can find Enrique, might be here a little bit of an interesting free kick routine. We can cook up, but unfortunately took on the shot. To be fair, wasn't too far away. Forces a good save there out of Unbeatable, but looking quite good here off the back of hitting that half-hour mark as per usual. Can't quite do anything here from this set piece. Now, unfortunately, try and play a ball in there into the box, and Koku can make sure that Manchester United do clear the lines. But that was actually quite a dominant first half from us there with this Benfica team 1-0. Arguably had a couple of chances there to make it 2-0, especially stats-wise. Apart from that first highlight that we did see, United have been up to absolutely nothing. So despite the fact that early looked a little bit vulnerable against this United team, just like was the case in that Super Cup, been a lot better ever since that first chance they did have. So hopefully here can score one more goal. Pretty similar situation that Madrid game. Would like to grab one more and at least grab a cushion against these guys and try and put this game to bed. Unfortunately, we're on the attack there, give the ball away, but nice tracking back there does mean that Højlund is back on the attack and somehow has been an utter bowler there at his near post. That's some pretty average goalkeeping there from the man in the sticks for Manchester United. Maybe it's the Onana regen, because that is some poor work. Calafia-Toglu tracks back well, and also Castillejo somehow gets that ball there to Højlund, but that really should be a simple save. So United's defence here is really the big difference in this game. We've also been quite dominant stats-wise, but still, both goals have been pretty preventable. Højlund with no assist for either of them, but thankfully has been able to put them away. And now here we are back on the attack with a thrown inside of the final third. Enrique will cut inside, takes on a shot there with his left foot, but unfortunately that one straight out of Bolu, and not quite the power to get through his hands like that previous effort there from Hudland. And a highlight not too long off the back of that United at the moment to keep the ball, but so far they've not been too good at this playing out from the back, and at the moment they're just doing enough of a good job. Nyanzu there did briefly win that ball back, but unfortunately United do get it back here and try and get something going down the right-hand side. But for now, we're doing a good job here of just keeping them inside of their own half. As I say that, they try and make their way here into ours, but Ronaldo reads that well as they are trying to find effort. And now Hudland here goes looking for a hat-trick. Instead, we'll pick out Enrique at the far post, and that surely puts this one to bed with just under a half hour left. United are really struggling today in Benfica, and we've made it 3-0. Hudland having a standout game, puts the ball there to the far post, and Enrique is onto that one well before the United left back even notices he's inside him and can put that one inside the back of the net. So that is going to make sure that we should get some revenge here on Manchester United for that Super Cup earlier this season. It might even be a similar winning margin. We're looking really good here with this Benfica team. Now we'll take off Ronaldo for Escudero just because don't want any injuries to our starting left back at the moment, with Nardi still out for a little while. Also, Qualification dropping down to a little bit of a deep yellow, Harden going a little bit fairly. Rodriguez can come on for him, and also Ortega looks like soon he might drop down to a red hard as well. We'll bring on Pretty at right back too. So a couple of changes here with 20 minutes left, and just as those are about to go through, we've got a throw in here, but it is deep inside of our own half. We'll see if this highlight does amount to anything, or if it's a little bit here of a waste of time. One seeing as I've just put some subs through. Nice ball forward there for Qualification, and actually forces there a good save out of the United goalkeeper. And unfortunately, this does give me the vibe this corner won't happen. Indeed, that is the case off the back of those subs actually going through. So pushing here to make it 4-0 against this United team. Now Hudland is sitting on a hat-trick, but I do feel this game is pretty well under control, and also is just coming back from a recent injury. So Trincao can come on for him. We'll see if we need to make any more subs here. I think we've still got one more stoppage left if we want to make it here late on in this game. We can now. Diarra has picked up a yellow card, so Monsalvo will come on here with our final sub. Don't think we need to time waste in the last 10 minutes of this one, because United are not looking too hot, albeit now they do have a corner, and thankfully Castillejo there with a good tackle, just clean, and United eventually take on a shot there, but thankfully Monsalves will put that one high and wide. So holding on here to this 3-0 lead and a clean sheet, which is quite big, seeing as United did put 5 past us in that Super Cup at the start of the season, but thankfully this time in front of our home fans, we've absolutely wiped the floor there with Manchester United. To be fair, those first 2 goals to Hudland, some pretty average defensive work there from both Delit and then from Unbeatable, and goal there from Manchester United. Off back of that though, the third goal, we kind of earned that one. Good ball from Hudland, and we found Enrique at the far post, but that is another very convincing win here with this Benfica team. Maybe back-to-back Champions League is not out of the realm of possibility, because at the moment we're looking unbeatable in our defence here of this title, and it does mean that we should surely be going straight through to the round of 16. We take a big bottle job now with a 6-point gap over United and Arsenal, who do sit on the bubble there in 8th and 9th off the back of that 3-0 win over United. So we keep rolling on here with this Benfica team this season. Ever since that Super Cup loss to Manchester United, we've been absolutely unbeatable, and it continues there with a 3-0 win over the Red Devils in the Champions League proper, and that should mean that we'll make our way through the knockouts in some form here with this Benfica team, because there's not really much chance they can catch us, and indeed, it's popped up there. We'll at least make our way through that first knockout playoff round, but really, it should be straight through the round of 16, considering we just need 1 point from those last 2 games, and surely, with the form we're in, unless that somehow turns quite bad at the start of January with those away games at Galatasaray as well as at Borussia Dortmund, should be one of those teams inside the top 8. So I dare say we might not even need to come back for those couple of games there in January. What we might do in tomorrow's episode instead, just to bridge the gap in between now and then, and probably could be a chance for us here to go pretty close to wrapping up Liga Portugal nice and early this season with how good our squad is here at Benfica. We might come back and play one more O Classico against Porto away from home. That could be a bit trickier than it was at the start of the season. Of course, those guys in big financial trouble and only going fairly down in 4th, and then might start to make our way into the January transfer window, where we have our transfer budget topped up by some clauses happening and some sales that have been made over the last couple of years here at Benfica. So our transfer budget has all of a sudden been bumped up to £18.5 million, which is quite nice. Not too sure what we can do with that money though, with how good our team it already is, but we'll see if anything does happen, if some players for some reason do want to leave the European champions on top again of that league table in the Champions League, and we'll take on Braga in what could be a pretty massive top of Liga Portugal clash. So I think we'll come back to that in tomorrow's episode and see if anyone does want to leave in that January transfer window. But if we look at the competitions tab, not too sure why they would, apart from the Super Cups, which have already happened. But hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. 2 good wins there in the Champions League and should be going through to the round of 16. If you did, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well until tomorrow for that Liga Portugal special where we take on Porto and Braga. Could probably go a long way to sealing another league title here with Benfica. Thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.